The story began with the introduction to an area inhabited by a few villagers. A mountain named Mount Hood was situated in the East Hood mountainous range. At the base of the mount was located an old-fashioned and unusual village. The pilot scene presented a dusky morning, when weather was pleasant at dawn and the sunshine was still weak. The villagers had gathered together at this early hour to see off a young man of 15 years of age, Bai Xiaochun. The man was all teary-eyed when he was about to leave, because he had a good bonding with the villagers. He addressed the villagers that he was going to study the immortal cultivation after hearing from someone about an immortal in the area. As he told them the reason for leaving, he also told them that he will miss all his neighbors and companions who had congregated together to see him off. An elder came up and told him that the life of the villagers had been miserable after his parents had left them. Xiaochun assured him that he was leaving only to learn immortal cultivation for them, as they all would want to be immortal, and that gaining the knowledge and art of immortal cultivation was his dream. The elder then advised him that he should not be afraid of any dangers and difficult situations, and he should keep moving forward once he leaves the village, because all his paths will be ahead of him then. All the elders saw him off as he left the village. The villagers were happy as soon as he left, and the elder announced a reward for the person who told him about the immortal. One of the villagers came up and said that Xiaochun hated the crowing of roosters at dawn, so he fed all the chickens in the village to kids, and now they did not have any chickens in the village. The villagers were so happy that they decided to celebrate the old man's birthday each year on that day. Xiaochun began his journey through the mountains. Suddenly he was disturbed by something. He geared up all confident and shouted that whoever was hiding and trying to harm him should not get out because he had his axes and machetes with him, and he would kill him with his weapons. He further warned that he had an incense, and if he burned it, thunder and lightning could appear, and even an immortal could be summoned. Despite giving out these threats and warnings, he was deep down scared as he was all alone. Freaked out with terror, he didn't dare move ahead, but an instant later learned that it was a bird which caused some hustle and scared him. He threw his axe right at it and sighed in relief. He then sat beside a tree all pessimistic about his luck while looking at the incense he had. The incense was given to him by his father. It was a generational gift from an immortal whom his ancestral villagers had saved when he was in a crisis. The immortal promised that he would take a member from the Bai clan to be his follower if the incense is lit. The smell of incense would outreach him wherever he would be. Xiaochun had lit the incense 12 times in the past 3 years, yet he never experienced an immortal. All that happened upon burning it was intense, terrifying lightning and thunder. Just a random thought of lighting the incense once more popped up in his mind. When he lit it, a supercell followed by continued intense thundering appeared again in the sky again. He was devastated, but he didn't want to stop trying because it was just the lightning. It couldn't kill him. He thus continued because he desperately wanted to be immortal. After a few moments of despair, all of a sudden an immensely strong gleaming and glazing light appeared in front of his eyes. He could not even look at it directly. To his surprise, as the thundering diminished, there was an immortal right in front of him. Xiaochun could not believe his eyes. He was overwhelmed as he didn't even know how he would greet an immortal. The immortal introduced himself as Li Qingholi and inquired about Xiaochun. He told him excitedly that he was a descendant of the Bai clan. Upon hearing this, the immortal shockingly smashed him. Xiaochun thought maybe this was the way immortals greeted. Qingholi then told Xiaochun that once he was in danger, a family from the Bai clan rescued him.
Do you want to know the name of this manga, along with all the manga names of the recaps we did in our channel? How about also the chapter numbers our recaps end? You can simply ask the names in our Discord community for free or become a donor to get them all in one place. You can either be a donor in Patreon or be a member in our YouTube channel. Just scan this QR code or go to the link in the description to become a donor. Moreover, becoming a donor automatically makes you a VIP member of our Discord server with over tens of thousands of members.
As an honor, he gave them an incense and told them that he could be called if the incense was lightened and that he was a man of words and never forgot to repay his favors. He also told him that he often experienced the scent of incense and rushed on his way to repay the favors, but the scent would soon diminish, and he would think that it was a mistake, thus would return. It happened multiple times, which made him think about the one who lightened the incense so many times in the past 3 years. He finally came to know that it was Xiaochun. Now that he was aware of the indecisive person who did this, he questioned him about this foolish and childish act. Xiaochun told him that he didn't want to leave his villagers, and the mere thought of leaving his land and ancestors behind when he lit the incense would scare him. To this, Qingholi was surprised as he didn't expect him to be of such a childish nature. Xiaochun then said that whenever he would light the incense, immense thunder would start to appear, and he almost got killed several times. He told him that he continued lighting the incense several times in the past 3 years because he was afraid of dying and he wanted to be immortal. Qingholi felt amused that Xiaochun was afraid of dying. If he would be trained efficiently, his personality could be changed. He asked him if he was ready to enter the world of immortals with him for training, and then wrapped his huge arms around him to fly to the sects of the world of immortality. They reached the Spirit Stream sect. Xiaochun looked around aimlessly, feeling uncomfortable at the new place. Upon scrutinizing, he learned that they were standing in the Department of Servant Affairs. Qingholi called a girl and ordered her to send Xiaochun to the ovens. Xiaochun and the girl, whom he called elder sister, both then headed towards the ovens. He was impressed by the beauty of the area as they passed by trees, rivers, bridges, buildings, etc. Soon they reached a small, crappy, smelly old building with a fence around it, and the elder sister told him that he would stay there. He was shocked upon hearing this and confirmed from her if she was mistaken. He saw a few strange blackish things and asked her what these were. He was surprised when one of these strange-looking things turned around and introduced himself as Doki. Doki was a chubby little man who was carrying a black wok on his back. He tried to impress elder sister and went on to say that he was gleeful at her presence and because she finally realized that he was talented enough to become her Taoist partner. Big sister told him that she only came to drop off Xiaochun, after which she left straight away. Xiaochun was sad and lonely after she left and told Doki that he was going to stay with them as their servant. Doki told him that it is a complicated task to settle him up, as there was just a single spot in the ovens, which was reserved for some lad named Shu Baokai. Doki seemed to be impressed by Xiaochun's appearance and personality, his short height and skinny figure, associating these features with innocence and simplicity. He therefore allowed Xiaochun to reside in the ovens at the expense of Baokai's spot. This made Xiaochun feel at home with the big brothers who introduced themselves as Big Fatty Jiang, the elder brother, Fatty Huang, the second elder brother, and Fatty He, the third elder brother. They were all worried about the relatively dainty appearance of Xiaochun and warned him that if it persisted, he could lose his spot for the ovens, as they were known by their fatty figures. They comforted him by saying that if he gained weight, he could be called the 9th Fatty Bai, the other 8 being themselves, which made him feel cozy and welcoming. Upon hearing this, he imagined himself as a Fatty Bai and was instantly overwhelmed by the fatty figure. Just as they were all gossiping together friendly, one of the big brothers told Xiaochun about the tradition of carrying around woks on their backs and elucidated further that it was a historical act and that the identity of the men of ovens was their backs carrying woks. The thought of carrying woks on his fragile and delicate back made him a bit uncomfortable. He wanted to opt for a job other than carrying weight on his back, but the big brothers told him that carrying woks once he goes out in the sectoral community would gain him respect as they had a big influence out there as the men of ovens. After all this communication between Big Brothers and Xiaochun, he was taken to the store where woks were kept and was ordered to pick a wok to carry on his back. His despair, thinking about his delicate back and the huge woks he has to carry on it, made him kick the pile of woks, which made the woks fly all over the place and bang the floor, making him fall too. Surprisingly and accidentally, a turtle shell, which might be somewhere within the pile of woks, flew and fitted over his head. When he looked at it, he was delighted because the tortoise was a sign of longevity. He related it to his dream of immortality and assumed it as the first sign and step towards his goal. Big Brothers objected to his decision to opt for a tortoise shell as a wok to carry around, but he told them that maybe no one ever used this wok because it was meant to be used by him, and he was happy with it. Gazing around the buildings and the ovens, he suddenly got a flash of his village and the villagers. He started missing them, but reassured himself by thinking that his major goal was to learn the immortal cultivation, and he was already at the first step towards his dream. The scene changed when he found an old-looking guide to the immortal cultivation. The guide had all the basic instructions to learn the techniques and exercises. It stated that the cultivation was divided into 2 stages. One was qi condensation, and the other was foundation establishment. The violet qi cauldron control art was divided into 10 phases, and practicing it allowed control over physical objects. By practicing up to 3 levels, half of a small cauldron could be controlled, and half of a large cauldron could be controlled by practicing up to 6 levels. 9th level allowed control of a full cauldron, and 2 cauldrons could be controlled if all 10 levels were practiced. The cultivation levels were basically breathing exercises which allowed a sensation of a strand of qi flowing through the body. He tried practicing some of the initial exercises, and surprisingly, when Xiaochun practiced these exercises, he only felt pain and no other sensation, which could probably be attributed to his inexperience. While he was busy practicing the levels of qi cauldron control exercises, someone came by the window and started shouting all furious and behaved as if it was his place and Xiaochun had taken control of it. Xiaochun looked out of the window and found a tall, angry young man accusing him of staying at his spot. It was revealed that the man was Shu Baokai, whom the spot was booked for, but the big brothers allowed Xiaochun to take over the spot due to his innocence. Xiaochun told him that this matter had nothing to do with him, and he had no idea of what was happening. But Baokai said that it couldn't be anyone else who took his spot, because all other men appeared native to the ovens, and while his appearance was poles apart, clearly indicating that he was a newbie. He invited Xiaochun for a fight at the southern slope of the sect 3 days later, and it was decided that if he beats Xiaochun, he would get back his spot. If he lost, the spot would then belong to Xiaochun. He left a note with D written all over the page with his own blood, and Xiaochun was astounded by the bloody writing. Xiaochun found it quite disturbing to write something with one's own blood, and he tried to make Baokai feel ashamed for it. Baokai broke down and told him that he had been trying for this spot in the oven since the last 7 years, and bribed all his belongings and filial piety to the exchange officer, whom he believed could get him this place. And he would do anything for this place even if he has to kill Xiaochun in the fight scheduled 3 days later. This, however, caused no melt in Xiao Chun's behavior towards him. Instead, he picked the note from the window and threw it on the floor as a sign to make him understand that he could not help him in any way, and he was not going anywhere from his spot. This infuriated Bao Kai, and he stepped forward with the intention of harming him. Xiao Chun got scared of his violent behavior and offered him a communication session on this matter. At the climax of the hot-headed encounter of the two, the moment froze when some loud and gigantic footsteps could be heard. To Xiao Chun's relief, it was one of the fatty big brothers, whom he considered as his savior. He ordered Xiao Chun to wash the dishes and Bao Kai to go somewhere else as he was too noisy and was disturbing him. Though Xiao Chun survived this time, he had this instinct that he could get harmed by Bao Kai if he went out of the ovens unattended because he witnessed sinister expressions on his face. The day passed and evening grew. It was all foggy and cloudy that night. Xiao Chun coincidentally passed by a training session of the Fatty brothers. He heard some commands by Fatty Jiang, who was ordering second Fatty Huang to close the door, and the third Fatty He to check if someone was peeping on their training sessions. Since it was foggy, Xiao Chun couldn't clearly see the training they were doing. Suddenly he got panic-struck as he felt a big hand encroaching upon his clothes. It was the big brother! He caught him up because he was peeping at their secret training sessions. His creepy smile scared Xiao Chun and indicated that something was wrong. The big brother carried him and dropped him in the training area. All of the Fatty brothers over there encircled him. He got extremely nervous and terrified. He asked them innocently what they were up to, but got no reply. Zhang then brought a 100-year-old Ganoderma that spread its aroma all around. Xiao Chun was startled by the aroma initially, but cherished it and wanted to have a bite or two as it seemed quite savory and delicious. Zhang offered him to take a bite. Though he was not sure what they were up to, and that this bite could harm him, he had no other choice but to eat it, so he did. Zhang then gave him the good tidings that he was now one of them because he ate the 100-year-old aromatic and delicious Ganoderma. This news made him extremely delighted that he was finally one of them. It made him excited as he was getting closer towards his dream life. They offered him more essences, which he anxiously accepted. He didn't know whether those eatables were safe for him, but he accepted them because everyone else was enjoying them safely as well. If there was a harmful ingredient in them, it would have harmed the others as well. They told him that he was being offered too many of these things because he was skinny, and they wanted him to gain weight. The environment was cozy and friendly with laughter all around, and he was merrily enjoying all these treats among the others, despite being full up till his throat. Xiao Chun ate so much that he could now feel a big bump in his stomach, but the big brothers insisted that he should continue eating more and more because he was way too skinny to be a man of the ovens. They told him that the girls out there in the sect liked fat and chubby boys like them, and if he stayed skinny, the girls would not be attracted to him. They all had decided that they would do anything to make him eat beyond his endurance level. A brother pointed at a wall art presenting a saying that it is better starving to death than struggling up the ladder in the sect. They wholeheartedly considered him a member of their community and introduced him to a mnemonic which was compiled by ancestral generations of the oven men. It stated that the magical fruits and herbs of this place should be eaten only from the edges, and the stem should be spared. The meat should be sliced thin, the bones should have flesh on them, congee should be made thin with a large quantity of water, and only half a cup of wine should be consumed. This 6-lined mnemonic guaranteed safety in the ovens, and Xiao Chun was advised to learn and follow these guidelines. Since it was quite late and almost midnight, Zhang ordered all the men to head for sleeping, and he himself took out a bowl to deliver soup to the people in sect as they were still waiting for soup. The bowl caught Xiao Chun's attention. He appreciated the bowl and expressed his opinion that the bowl didn't seem too big but actually could hold an ample quantity of soup. A brilliant idea struck his mind, and he instantly presented the idea to Zhang. He advised him that they should make the base of the bowls thicker, keeping the outer dimensions the same, which would make the bowls seem big, but they would actually house less quantity of soup. This ingenious idea made an impression on Zhang's mind. He was short of words to praise Xiao Chun and his idea, and thought it could be passed on for the benefit of future generations. He expressed his astonishment towards him that he never considered someone simple and decent like him could present such an amazing idea. He awarded a grain of spirit rice to him as a symbol of gratitude, and called out He to start changing the dimensions of bowls, as per Xiao Chun's ideas. The next morning, it was a bright sunny day, and Xiao Chun woke up with the crowing of chickens. When he took a glance at himself, he got petrified to find his body and clothes covered with dark dirt. The big brother calmed him down that it is the inner impurity that made its way out of his body, and that getting rid of these impurities can allow him to practice cultivation more devotionally. He then took a bath to remove the dirt. Big brother told him to take some days off of work and give attention to himself and make a stronger comeback a few days later. He reminded him of the rice grain, telling him to eat it soon because it can go bad as an edible. The rice grain made Xiao Chun feel special whenever he gazed at it, because he thought it was incredible that he got to eat what the Immortals ate. He thought of cooking it in the tortoise walk which he carried on his back. He went to the fireplace. Upon placing it in the oven and lighting the wood, he found something unusually special in the wood, and then in the fire which started when he lightened the wood. It was special because it was warmer and brighter than the fire which he saw in his village, and it very quickly spread over a large area even out of the oven. The wok caught Xiao Chun's attention because the lines on it were sparkling and glittering like a magical object, which was giving out its rays of gleam. Witnessing this glare thrilled him that maybe his wok was better than the dusky black woks which all the other oven men possessed. He dropped the grain of spirit rice in the wok and thought of boning up on the purple chi mastering technique in the meanwhile, because he was worried that he had been hitting the wall the whole previous day since there was no visible progress in his exercises. He opened the exercise guide, slowly and steadily went through it, and began with achieving the position. He was all focused and had decided to bring the exercise to bear no matter what. On kicking off the exercise and holding his breath, he instantly noticed that he was doing much better than yesterday because he held his position for almost 8 breaths without the slightest of discomfort and struggle, whereas previously he could hold for a breath or two hardly. He perceived that the exercise had become effortless for him, which pleased him and made him much more confident. He tried harder and harder and maintained his position for 30 breaths, and all of a sudden, a wisp of cool air emerged from all over his body, which merged with the chi vein, spawning a trickling sensation which became bigger and stronger with each passing moment. Upon recovering from the exercise position, the thread of air continued to follow him. It was still there. This marked the manifestation of the purple chi mastering technique's first level. Because the chi veins were still there, they were never gone. He had done it. It was a moment of triumph for him as he just mastered the initial exercise. In a split second, he fell down and became all dirty again, mandating him a bath with cold water, which grabbed the big brother's attention as he was uneasy taking a bath with cold water. Xiao Chun recalled that after accomplishing the first level of the Qi mastering technique, the Immortal is able to lift things through air by swooshing his finger in the air. He took a quick scan of the circumambience, and the first thing that his eyes fixed on was a table. He swooshed his finger right away, aiming at the table without thinking of its weight and size. The table rose on his command, but fell right away with a bang because it was way too heavy to be lifted in the air. He comprehended his failure and looked for something lighter and smaller. Upon rescanning the surrounding, he found a small wooden sword-like object which he could easily lift. He once again directed his finger with a lifting swoosh towards the object, which rose but fell again with a bang. This time the big brothers noticed the blaring bang and were very perplexed by it. Xiao Chun tried again and finally succeeded in lifting the sword. He was extremely cheerful with this activity and was proud of his skills. He even tried swishing the sword to the right and left and achieved triumph in it. He then assertively and honorably referred to himself as the Immortal Bai Xiao Chun as he got a hang of it, and became proficient in the first exercise. Diverting his attention from the Qi exercises, Xiao Chun felt a strong and savory aroma originating from the wok of spirit rice, indicating that it had been cooked and was ready to be eaten. He examined the rice grain and noticed a strange but familiar pattern on the rice. Emphasizing on his intelligence, he linked this pattern with a similar pattern on the wok, but that was not all. He was curious and wanted to unearth the story behind this pattern, and started thinking of ways he could do it. He had good fortune, because the same day Third Fatty Hay was off to purchase some supplies for the ovens, providing Xiao Chun with a golden opportunity to creep into the 4C's room in order to discover the truth behind the stream of silver pattern on the rice and the wok. He took advantage of the situation and sneaked into the room. The room was full of secrets of the immortals and housed all kinds of books and leaflets with all the knowledge of immortal cultivation. He there found about the 3 major skills of cultivation, the first one being concoction of medicine, the processing steps through which various ingredients are passed in order to form medicine or food, the second one being equipment forging, the process by which metal is molded to form various objects, and the third being spirit enhancement, leveling up or upgradation of an object or species. The sign of spirit enhancement closely resembled the sign on the grain and wok, hinting towards the spirit rice being cultivated by spirit enhancement. Xiao Chun instantly picked the hint and got excited to know more about spirit enhancement. He started going through the information on spirit enhancement and learned that it required amalgamation of the energy from heaven and earth and its transfer into inanimate objects like medicinal pills and incense. If the enhancement was successful, it would result in magnification of the potential power of the object, and if it was a failure, it would result in wasteful dissipation of the immense amount of energies from heaven and earth. Since spiritual enhancement was prohibited in heaven and earth, there were more chances that it would go waste, and the success rate was extremely feeble. The more precious and valuable the object was initially, the lower were the chances of success, and the results of success were also more terrifying and horrifying. Subsequent enhancements of a single object also increases the horrific results exponentially. The masters and professionals in this field would also think 100 times and would hesitate before multiple enhancements of an object. The records in the 4C's room also showed that a sword in the Spirit Stream sect was enhanced 10 times and was now called the Heavenhorn Sword. Xiao Chun gave a second thought on the spirit cultivation of the rice and arrived at the conclusion that the major source of it was the special tortoise wok. It was an extraordinary, remarkable wok, which had special powers that could enhance an inanimate object to incorporate exceptional and unnatural abilities into it. If the wok was really exclusive, then this secret was not to be revealed to anyone second to him. It was nighttime, and all the oven men were fast asleep and snoring. Xiao Chun confirmed that they were all asleep and then headed towards the fireplace. This time, he wanted to put the wooden sword which he was swooshing in the morning into his wok to spiritually enhance it, because he believed that it was the wok which had the powers to enhance an object. He put the wooden sword into the wok and waited for the magic to happen, but nothing happened. He tried to identify the fault and arrived at the conclusion that he should try again by lightening the wood, because he recalled that the wood in that fireplace also had special qualities and could aid in the enhancement process. Thus, for the second try, he placed the wok back on the fireplace, burned the special wood, and then sat calmly waiting for the magic to happen. A few moments passed by, and suddenly, a thundering glaze struck the wooden sword and enlightened it with its gleam. The flash and sparkle was so intense that Xiao Chun could hardly open his eyes. When he could finally open his eyes, he witnessed the wooden sword was no more a simple wooden object, but had that beautiful silver spirit enhancement sign engraved onto it. As excited as a child is for a toy, Xiao Chun was over the moon when he finally saw the enhancement sign on the wooden sword. He felt so thrilled because he did it all by himself. It was his first ever spirit enhancement attempt as an immortal, which became successful. It was very rare for an enhancement attempt to become successful, that too, when performed by a newbie. Following the thrill, he had something even more important to think of, which was concealing the secret of the sword enhancement from everyone else. He kept on thinking hard, eventually jumping to the conclusion that he could prevent the secret from being disclosed by cloaking the silver sign with a dye. Days passed by. Nights changed. Everything was running smoothly. Xiao Chun became amicable with and mastered the art of functioning all objects in the ovens. He grasped the concept of using different fires and modes of instrument usage for different foods, and acquired skill in processing various items native to the ovens. He also learned that the one colored fire he lit under the tortoise pot was actually the spirit fire. The world outside the ovens also intrigued him, and he familiarized himself with concepts of rising to higher levels in the community. He got to know that after proficiency up till the third chi exercise, the handymen were eligible for going on trials for different peaks. Upon acquiring victory in the trials, they would be made outer disciples in that particular peak. Becoming an outer disciple would earn them the position of a spiritual disciple, allowing them to enter the threshold of Lingxi clan. Just another regular day, the sun was shining warm and bright during the midday. Everyone was doing their work. There came a need of purchasing some goods down the mountain for the ovens, for which the seventh fatty was nominated, but he was unavailable due to some personal work. That led to the decision that Xiao Chun should go down to purchase the valuables. Zhang came by his window to call him for the shopping run, and noticed something unusual about his dressing. Xiao Chun was standing all geared up wearing protective attire, carrying weapons and axes with him, and explained the thoughts behind his getup, that he was afraid of being attacked by the troll, who came hot-headed the other day to take over his room, Li Bao Kai. The dress was only for his self-defense, and he felt safe and confident in it to fight for his life. He started off exiting the ovens and made his journey down the town, wandering nervously since he was new to the area outside the ovens, but felt contented and satisfied at the same while walking through his dream world of immortals. His mind was at peace because he left behind the life of mortals at his village. Several people encountered him through his way and were amused by his attire, linking his getup to being a newbie, while several girls who saw him thought he was cute and good-looking. Walking through the mountains, passing by the trees, his eyes caught some unrest among a crowd near a temple. Curiosity struck Xiao Chun lowered his mask and asked a viewer the cause behind the crowd, who replied that the master of the stove room had an issue going on. Another man nearby was mumbling that maybe he could learn some moves from the fight between the two outer disciples, Zhou Hong and Zhang Yide, who were both at the 6th level of qi condensation. It was further revealed that the fight among the two was based on personal grudges. There was a massive crowd which kept on expanding and had their eyes and ears fixed on the uproar between the two fighters. Rushing through the crowd, Xiao Chun made his way to the front, where he could vividly see the two outer disciples, Zhou, who had long bluish hair, and Zhang, who had short red hair. At the outset of the fight, it appeared that Zhang was the dominating fighter. But towards the climax, Zhou regained his strength and came back stronger. Xiao Chun was contemplative for the reason behind their fight, because according to him, the sole purpose of getting trained here was to become immortal, whereas these people, despite being immortal, were fighting to kill one another. It seemed quite strange to see these people fighting in the world of immortality. He stayed for a while but considered it erratic and was worried for his own safety as well, hence decided to go back to the ovens, which he considered a safe place for himself. Just as he began his steps back, he heard an alarming sound of a person calling out his name. He got startled and felt unnerving on hearing this familiar voice. Giving it a sound thought, he recalled that the voice was Bao Kai's, who had invited him for a fight at the southern slope of the sect. For a moment he almost froze from terror, because Bao Kai said that he was going to kill him. Xiao Chun played wisely and screamed at the top of his throat for help instantly. His scream was loud enough to catch the attention of the whole crowd, including the two fighters. Everyone got perplexed upon hearing the shriek. As the echo dissipated in the air, the frame shifted to the peak of another mountain, on top of which was situated a hanging court. In the middle was a chess table occupied by two men who were peacefully playing a game of chess. Out of the two, one was Qing Holi, the immortal who brought Xiao Chun to the sect for learning the immortal cultivation. The opponent of Qing Holi was the sect leader, who picked the chess piece and broke the silence by asking Qing Holi about Xiao Chun, referring to him as an interesting child. Qingholi expressed his dismay and heavy-heartedness to the sect leader as he thought Xiao Chun still needed a lot more behavior shaping to fit into his role as a man of ovens, since his personality was childish and didn't suit him as an immortal. The sect leader had a different opinion about Xiao Chun. He thought that it wasn't an easy task to perform well with people of different traits, and Xiao Chun was doing well at it already. Coming back to the outrageous encounter between Xiao Chun and Bao Kai, they were still in the same phase, with Xiao Chun screeching and running for his life, and Bao Kai following him all aggrieved and angry. Xiao Chun was panic-struck due to the fear of being killed. He had no option but to continue yelling and calling for help. Bao Kai kept on trying to shut him up, but he wouldn't even stop for a moment. Bao Kai was extremely annoyed by his babyish behavior. Hence, out of helplessness, he paused and aimed his sword at Xiao Chun in order to stop his yelling. Xiao Chun was running in his turbo mode, hence the sword took pretty much time to follow him. It went closer and closer, eventually landing its sharp peak at his back. For a moment, the scene stopped still. It appeared that the sword had ripped through his back, and it was the end of immortality for him. At the second glance, rays of hope emerged as it could be seen that the sword was stopped from entering his body due to the walk. The walk had saved him. The walk really was special because it saved his life. If the walk hadn't been there, Xiao Chun would have finished moments ago. Bao Kai sighed at his failure. Xiao Chun regained his senses after realizing that he was all right, and the walk had saved him. He restarted using his defense mechanism of screaming and shouting, but this time he called Big Brothers for help. Because he ran towards the ovens, the Big Brothers could hear his echo. They were startled upon hearing the ninth fatty asking for his life. Fatty Jiang immediately came outside to see what was happening. He saw Xiao Chun running slowly towards him, screaming that Bao Kai was going to kill him. Slowly and steadily, Xiao Chun reached Big Brother, his safe zone, and hid himself in his arms. Bao Kai was following him, calling his name angrily in a revengeful tone. When he reached the spot, he slowed down and stopped at a slight distance from them. He had been running after Xiao Chun for so long that he was breathless and panting continuously. As he got hold of his breath and gathered his energy back, he swung his sword out in the air furiously towards a tree with his full strength to express his despair. Bao Kai could not attempt another target at Xiao Chun because he was in his safe zone. He ran away with a whoosh, threatening him that he would surely return and take his revenge. On the other hand, Jiang assured Xiao Chun that he will himself deal with Bao Kai if he returns. He insisted that Xiao Chun should take a few days off for rest and should never leave the ovens alone until his matter with Bao Kai is sorted. He seemed worried for him because of him being underweight and weak, hence promising him a tonic to make him fit again for elder brother's birthday. He kept on comforting him and giving him tips for his safety. But Xiao Chun's eyes were stuck on the tree with Bao Kai's sword. The target was strong enough to pierce a hole into a tree. This made Xiao Chun give a deep thought towards the incident. What if he was in place of the tree? Could he survive? Was he strong enough to defend himself from Bao Kai? A sense of inferiority started dwelling in his mind. He tried to divert his attention by thinking that he would never go outside the ovens. He would stay there for his life because he wanted to be an immortal, but the focus still remained on his inferiority and weakness. His inner self was not allowing him to let go of this matter. He was being persuaded to fight for himself. Ultimately, his thoughts made their way through his mouth. He told Jiang that he wanted to get trained to become stronger for the sake of his life. A fierce force passed down his veins, which made his motivation mask his fear of death. He came running instantly to his room and started going through the details of the second exercise. In a flash of time, he attained the posture for the second exercise. Normally, he couldn't sustain the position for more than 10 breaths, but this mad motivation allowed him to continue for 15 breaths in the first try. Day and night shifted. Within a blink of an eye, 15 days had passed. Xiao Chun's routine had remained the toughest throughout these days. He had been practicing day and night in the stoveroom and had been eating and drinking non-stop. All his focus was towards himself. His motivation shocked everyone in the ovens, and they were all really worried for him. He stopped paying attention to his health. All he did was practice, practice, and practice. The routine continued. A month passed in the same manner. Big Brother Jiang was extremely distressed and bothered by seeing Xiao Chun this way. According to him, Xiao Chun had been playing with his life all these days. Everyone was fretful about the condition of Xiao Chun and his deadly efforts. For a moment, Jiang could no longer bear it and he broke down. He said that he was alone enough to ruin Bao Kai, and he was actually going to do it for his ninth brother. He could not stop his impassioned steps heading towards Bao Kai. While Huang was stopping him from going to Bao Kai, a massive thundering bang was heard in the ovens. It originated from Xiao Chun's room. The puzzled Huang and Jiang stood still, trying to absorb the bang and to get to the cause. They realized that it could be Xiao Chun who broke through the second level of condensation. It was true. He had attained the second level of condensation in the most astonishing and dramatic manner. Xiao Chun appeared through his door. He looked much more confident and assertive. As per records, it usually took about half a year to pass through the second exercise, but he accomplished the level in just a month due to his dedication and steadfastness. Straight from his door, he jumped high in the air to land directly on a wooden fence. Jiang was alarmed at his intense strength and force. Xiao Chun then introduced himself to the people as a talent of the Lingxi clan and bragged that his fierceness and strength would be known for generations. He believed that Bao Kai had attained the second level of condensation in a dramatic way and was much stronger than him, but he was on the same level now and had attained a strength equal to him, if not more. The battle between the two would now be compatible as both the contestants were of comparable power. He would no more be the weaker one in the next battle. He perceived himself strong enough to fight Bao Kai, but did not consider this strength as ultimate. There was still more to come. He still had a long way to go, and he was geared up for it. The big brothers had not seen him as optimistic and buoyant before. They were completely baffled. They were apprehensive at the same time because the thought of losing their friend haunted them. They left the scene by saying that they should no more mess with the ninth fatty because he was no more the same. Since Xiao Chun knew that achieving triumph up till the second level was not enough, he didn't stop practicing. He ascended by leaps and bounds. His efforts knew no boundaries. His exceptional efforts and hard work paid off. He transitioned from the second level to the third level in a short span of 15 days. None would have thought of achieving a massive success within such a short time. He didn't forget that he needed a good weapon for his protection during the battle with Bao Kai. The spiritually enhanced wooden sword would have done the job, but he wanted extra security. The sword had the capability of being enhanced further, so Xiao Chun gave it a try. The special wok was placed on the fireplace again. The spiritual two-colored wood was burned, and the sword was dropped into the wok. Just as it touched the base, the same thundering magic recurred. Within a flash, the sword had double enhancement designs. Yes, there were 2 beautiful silver streaks on the wood, such a stupendous success he had achieved within 1 year of leaving his village and inhabiting the sect. He performed 2 successful spirit enhancements. He accomplished 3 levels of chi condensation techniques, side by side with mastering his job in ovens. Though it was a tremendous success, it had cost him a whole year. Xiao Chun always dreamed the life of an immortal, but now he had lost a whole youthful year to practicing and training here. The thought of leaving behind this beautiful year downhearted him. The next day dawned. Everyone was out on their regular routines, but there was something unusual. The day was not an ordinary day. The sunshine seemed different. The birds at the oven entrance seemed in a state of turmoil, and the butterflies were just not as pretty as they seemed the other days. Unexpectedly, someone started shouting at the entrance. As the big brothers gathered near the disturbance, it appeared that it was Bao Kai who had brought along with him his companions from the supervisor's department. He came to end the enmity with Xiao Chun by fighting the final battle along with his companions. Zhang sarcastically said that the crows kept on crowing at the entrance since the morning because they were hinting at the arrival of a disaster. The men of the supervisor department bragged that the glory of the fatty oven men might impress people from other sects, but they didn't give a crap. Zhang tried to reason with them that Bao Kai made a murder attempt at Xiao Chun initially, but none of them were in the state to lend him an ear. The competitors from both sides geared up, gathered their powers, and were ready to fight. The big brothers had also taken up their walks. On either side of the entrance were the parties standing furious and hot-headed. Suddenly everyone heard some running steps. They paused and waited for the steps to come near. Within an instant, Xiao Chun appeared on the battlefield, but he was not the same anymore. His eyes portrayed confidence, his gait portrayed pride, and he was carrying with him his twice-enhanced sword. Everyone's eyes were fixed on this man of steel as he made his grand comeback into the battlefield. Even Bao Kai's eyes expressed awe while he witnessed such a powerful entrance. Zhang restrained Xiao Chun from coming to the field because he was afraid the supervisors may harm him, but nothing could stop him that day. He didn't feel the slightest of fear from confronting them. One of the outrageous supervisors instantly swung his sword with full strength towards Xiao Chun, swiftly traveling towards him. He thought the whole matter would end just with a single swing, because he had in mind that Xiao Chun would be weak. Xiao Chun squinted his red, fiery eyes at him and took out his own double-enhanced silver sword before the supervisor's sword could encounter him, swooshed it swiftly, following the exercise of the 3rd step of purple chi condensation technique. As his sword made its way at the speed of sound towards Bao Kai and the supervisors, they got terror-struck. Their atrocious eyes slowly lost their wickedness and portrayed terror. All his companions were paralyzed by this heroic act. The sword hit one of the supervisors with a bang, thus startling the whole battlefield. No one was ready to believe that Xiao Chun could hit such a perfect strike. Bao Kai observed his technique and understood the procedure. He revealed to everyone that it was the 3rd level of chi condensation technique which Xiao Chun practiced. He was shocked and mumbled overwhelmingly that the sword had been spiritually enhanced by divine powers. Thus, it emitted its radiance outwards. Usage of the purple chi mastering technique had reduced the weight of the sword to be comparable with a feather, due to which it was swiftly passing through the air. As the sword hit the targeted supervisors, the portrayal of victory was evident on Xiao Chun's face. He satirically made fun of Bao Kai that he was weaker than him now. The day belonged to him. He appalled everyone with his vigor and courage. Bao Kai had lost his long-going battle. There was grief in his eyes, which immediately transported him to the world of imagination, where he recalled himself being a proud member of the Spirit Stream sect family. He recalled his bygone days when he was one of the well-known personalities and was the pride of his community. Everything was tranquil and calm, with gleaming sunlight and stress-free days. The same beliefs pondered over his mind as Xiao Chun, that if he practiced cultivation regularly and steadfastly, he could avail a spot in his dream place, the ovens. He could go to any extent, even take a life to reach his goal. His imagination took a strange turn when all of a sudden the sparkle diminished, and dark, shadowy clouds appeared over the horizon. The clouds were swift enough to approach one another and block the sunlight, with just a single ray of light reaching down, which Baokai considered his ray of hope towards achieving his goal. Within an instant, the clouds completely blocked the sun rays. There was no hope left for Baokai. He was all helpless and destitute. It kept on getting darker and darker. He yelled for his dreams. He could see everything flowing from his hands like water. Agony and anguish became his fate. He was defeated. Sigh. He tried to give his fate another try, roared in anger, but his roar was no more majestic. It depicted failure and defeat. Without giving him a second chance, Xiao Chun showered his punches onto him. Baokai was in a state of deep shock. He thought Xiao Chun had been concealing his powers all these months. There was no other explanation for his victory because it was impossible and unhumanly to undergo such an enormous transition and attain an immeasurable strength to divinely enhance objects in a span of a few months. It had to take years of hard work. According to Baokai, Xiao Chun had a weak, shameless, and loathsome personality due to which he camouflaged his strength, thus defeating him with such a disgrace. Tears rolled down his cheeks. He couldn't accept his defeat, and he considered himself naive and stupid because he couldn't unveil Xiao Chun's true face. The contestants from both the teams parted ways from the battlefield to observe the madcap between the two hotheads. It was Xiao Chun and Baokai, alone in the field. As soon as Baokai hit the ground with evident annihilation, big brothers were over the moon. They congratulated each other that their ninth kid had triumphed in the fight. Xiao Chun looked contemptuously at his hands, who had made history and gained him massive respect. His emotional ardors were evident from his eyes. The men from the supervisor sect were daunted by Xiao Chun's performance and extraordinary abilities. They were abashed in front of the men of ovens and felt that Baokai had made them feel ashamed by his disgraceful defeat. Amazed by his power, they lowered in front of Xiao Chun to express their awe. Baokai was then dragged recklessly by his companions to leave the battlefield. After everyone left, Zhang congratulated Xiao Chun and patted him on his shoulder to show his solidarity and pride. He said that he was happy that his ninth brother's half-year of risking his life and working hard had paid off in such a victorious manner. The chapter of summer had ended, and winter was slowly passing. Autumn leaves had fallen already from their trees. The wind was cold and the environment was cozy and peaceful. The changing seasons made Xiao Chun realize that he had been in the ovens for more than a year now, and within this span he had achieved quite a few major steps towards his ultimate goal: immortality. He was much happier and content here than he was in his mortal village. Everything was going smooth and peaceful. There were no more threats to him. But there was this one thought which would not leave his mind. He was worried that he had lost a whole youthful year in the training sessions. Seeing the autumn leaves fall made him apprehensive, and he metaphorically linked his lost year to these leaves. It made him depressed. He wanted to get back this year at any cost. One day he went outside the ovens to purchase some supplies. His route passed through the south bank of Lingxi clan, where multiple stone tablets were constructed. They instantly caught his attention. He had heard from one of the elder brothers that somewhere among these stones was the place where the Lingxi clan had accepted the sect mission. He thought hard, and jumped to the idea that maybe he could regain the lost year of his precious life by accepting a mission there and trading for longevity in any possible way. The outer disciples of the Lingxi clan had to complete a sect mission, and upon completing it, they would be able to exchange spiritual stones for anything they wanted. In return for spirit stones, they would get some medicinal pills or herbs which would fulfill their needs. The results could be even more precious than the stones themselves. He went inside. There were many seniors there. He approached one of the seniors who was the mission distributor and inquired about a mission in which one had to discover and collect some herbs which could be exchanged for longevity. He wanted to confirm if the herb actually increased one's life or was it a bluff. The mission distributor explained the task in detail to him. He said that it really does increase the lifespan, but only by a year. The herb was functional only if eaten the first time, and it would produce no effect subsequently. He further explicated that the mission could be opted for by only those who had mastered the condensation technique up to the 5th level. According to him, the herb was extremely pricey, was made for single usage, and increased the lifespan by a single year only, hence it was useless. Xiao Chun didn't find it useless because he only required a single year of longevity to make up for the year he had lost. The mission distributor asked for the consent of Xiao Chun for this mission, and he nodded. He then went on to describe the types of herbs which could be exchanged for longevity. The 3 herbs that could be exchanged were Qingling leaf, Dilong fruit, and Shichong skin. The Qingling leaf, a beautiful green and gold leaf, was native to the habitat of spirit bird flocks and was very difficult to obtain, explaining its high price. The Dilong fruit was a spinous, strangely appearing fruit that grew underground, thus it was extremely pricey. The Shichong skin was actually the shed skin of an insect named Shichong, which was found only in Beian. The skin was pinkish in color and it was extremely hard and heavy with a stone-like texture. Xiao Chun made his journey back to the ovens. He really liked the idea of the mission and was willing to pay for the pricey herbs in exchange for longevity, but the actual problem was money. He had made no money up till now in the ovens. He sat by his window and cleared his mind for some deep thoughts on this matter. Several incapacitated ideas came up in his mind. He could steal the spirit food from the ovens and sell it outside, but could easily be caught. so the idea failed. Many more bizarre ideas popped up, but none could actually make sense. After a lot of thinking, he finally came up with a brilliant idea. He could sell his spiritual energy. As he was busy making up plans, the big brothers peeped at him all befuddled. Disturbing his deep self-communication period, a clamorous sound of a bell summoned everyone's attention. Xiao Chun instantly looked outside the window. The bell rings at a designated day every month. It brings along with it an invitation for the handymen to become promoted to the level of outer disciples. At this very particular day in the month, the trial paths to the peak of the mountains are opened for the handymen. All the handymen who have cultivated up to the Ningqi 3rd level are eligible to opt for a trial peak. If they reach the top, they would be upgraded to the position of outer disciples. The pathways to the peaks were seemingly endless stairs, which were treacherous enough to frighten a weak-hearted handyman. Xiao Chun was all ears to the bell and had a brilliant idea of entering the contest. But the problem was that no one in the ovens ever took interest in these contests. According to the oven men, they were self-sufficient. They thought that the best position they could obtain was in the ovens, and didn't even bother to try for a higher qualification. This was because the dreadful thought of climbing the infinite stairs to reach the peaks would haunt them. Thus they preferred starving in the ovens over it. What further made them lose their interest was the limited slots available in the outer sect, which meant that only the top 3 competitors to reach the peak would be qualified as an outer disciple. Seeing such mere chances of success, they usually turned their noses up at the contest. Xiao Chun had a contrasting personality to the oven men, and he was ambitious enough to at least try for the qualification. Cherry on top, he needed money for the herbal pill. Thus he was definitely into the contest this time. How could he make money by entering this contest? He thought long and hard, arriving at a genius idea. The implementation of the plan wasn't possible without help from big brothers. He knew it was going to be quite a task to convince them because they considered no position superior to the ovens and were more than happy at their place. But he gave it a shot. He called the big brothers into action in order to explain his idea. He seized their attention by beginning with the idea of getting rich and making money. Once they were all ears and deeply concentrated, he told them all they had to do was to climb the 3 mountain peaks of the spirit sect as fast as possible to obtain the top 3 positions of the contest. Once they have secured all the 3 positions, they can trade them to anyone who comes next in exchange for a hefty amount of money or spirit stones. Since all of them were at good levels of condensation exercises, obtaining top positions was not quite a back-breaking task for them. The big brothers pictured themselves along with Xiao Chun as the top 3 positioners of the contest, with adventure buzzing in their minds. They were on top of the world on hearing that idea, because they hadn't ever gotten a chance to make money. The oven men had reflected poverty for generations, because they were considered way too naive by the supervisor's department. No one ever considered them worthy enough to earn money. Being shadowed by the outer sects, they spent their whole lives within the ovens, unaware of the feats beyond their boundary. Zhang was grateful to Xiao Chun for enlightening their minds with breakthrough innovations and brainy ideas. As a celebratory reward, he announced a snack night for everyone. During the subsequent days, all the oven men would practice day and night and thrive hard to shoot up their chances of winning. The whole stove room showed unity and coordination during this time. Finally, the most awaited day had dawned. A rabble had gathered at the base of the spirit sect peaks. Restlessness could be seen all around. The contestants were chit-chatting sarcastically over the participation of oven men because it was for the first time in history that so many people from the ovens had appeared for such an onerous task. The big brothers and Xiao Chun were standing self-reliant, unbothered by the attitudes and comments of other handymen. At the southern shore of the Spirit Stream sect, the bases of the peaks were occupied by the designated contestants, all at their final positions. The anxiousness of the crowd found rest when all of a sudden a glaring luminescence struck the ground. Everyone stood amazed and perplexed. The lightning edged and made way for the majestic trial supervisor. Upon seeing the oven men as contestants for the trial, the supervisor was amused and shocked at the same time as it was a rare sight. He satirically asked if the sun dawned from the west that day, but was impressed at the same time to witness the progress. As soon as the supervisor made the glorious entrance, he ordered for the trial to commence. At each base, several stout and muscular men stood geared up to begin the race, who had no fear of losing to the oven men and considered them incapable of winning the race. As the race start kicked, the oven men falsified everyone's assumptions about them. Peculiarly, they were the fastest. Their brisk speeds allowed no one ahead of them. The viewers at the bases were astonished. They couldn't believe their eyes when they saw oven men at the front positions at all 3 peaks. Some thought they may be high on aphrodisiacs because it was unnatural for the chubby, fatty oven men to run at turbo modes. Zhang and He were running near the speed of light. It felt like turtles were moving at a rabbit's pace. Xiao Chun, unbothered by the world around him, had only one motive in his mind: the longevity of herbs. He kept his focus on longevity and the money he had to make for those herbs. His lost year motivated him to run at an expeditious pace up the stairs. It was just him and the money, nothing in between the two. The people behind them were nowhere even near to them. There was a huge distance between the swift oven men and other stout men. They could see themselves losing the trial to the chubby, indolent, and sluggish oven men. The next scene showed the peak of the fragrant cloud. There were some supervisors waiting up there for the trial participants to reach the top so that they could upgrade them to the positions of outer disciples. They were so thrilled and curious to see the 3 luckiest contestants who could reach the peak in the first place. As they were discussing and chit-chatting, one of them saw a shadow of a person running towards the stop line. It was Xiao Chun, the first one to reach the peak. The supervisors were so enlivened to witness a young participant score first place. They were in amazement upon such a triumph by a young-aged man. As they gathered their emotions back and set aside their admiration so that they could congratulate him, Xiao Chun stopped with a screech just a step behind the finish line. They instantly got befuddled. Just a second later, Jiang and He arrived huffing and panting from the other 2 stair paths, who also stopped a step or 2 before the line. The supervisors told the 3 of them that they were the lucky participants who reached the peaks in the first place, and if they just took the last step, they would be promoted as the outer disciples. They were unaware of the conscious planning of the 3 winners. Zhang boorishly replied that none wanted to be an outer disciple out of the 3 of them. This infuriated and staggered the supervisors. They couldn't believe their ears. Why would someone climb up such a huge peak at such a fast pace if they don't want to win and get promoted? Xiao Chun had his eyes fixed on the stairs, and as soon as he saw a participant running towards the peak, his eyes sparkled. He directed the big brothers to come for business of bargaining the spots. As that participant came near, he was devastated that the spot he climbed the peak for had been occupied already. He expressed his sorrow upon his failure. Tears rolled down his eyes. He was about to return to the base when Xiao Chun called upon him and stopped him. Xiao Chun said to him that he didn't want to become an outer disciple as he had to leave the ovens to become one, which he could not bear to do. He cunningly offered his spot to him for 20 spirit stones. To avoid sounding greedy, he said that his big brothers were along with him and he was not alone in this. Upon getting the offer, the man took no time in accepting it. He took out the spirit stones, handed over the cotton parcel containing the stones to Xiao Chun, and crossed the finish line to secure his position as an outer disciple. This scene provoked and agitated the supervisors, who ferociously shouted at them because of their troublesome act. Zhang bluffly howled back at them that there was nothing wrong if they helped a fellow brother achieve his dream, and he gave some compensation for it. He further added that this whole journey had been so tiring that he just couldn't convince himself to take another step as he was way too worn out. Just as they sold Xiao Chun's spot, multiple participants started to appear at the peaks and got to know that the spots were being traded. Person by person, the area started to crowd. The participants started offering their bids for the place. Hustling and bustling continued within the crowd as they were fighting for the slots. In the meantime, a gorgeous young and attractive girl reached her peak. When she got to know about the business, she bid 30 spirit stones. She was the daughter of the Hao family, who were generationally well off. This created a major uproar among the crowd of contestants as she was from a wealthy family, and they couldn't throw their hat in her ring. The girl was ready to buy the spot. She even took out her 30 spirit stones to lock the deal. But another man from the crowd offered 35 stones. Following him, 2 more participants offered 36 and 37 stones. The situation was getting out of hand, the crowd was becoming restless, and the bids kept on rising exponentially. As the bids rose, the young girl directly leaped up her offer to 50 spirit stones and challenged the rest of the participants to bid more than 50. The crowd had totally lost their minds because the bids did not stop at 50. They kept on rising, 51, 52, 53, and they went on. The girl scornfully looked down upon the crowd and offered her whole pouch of stones to Xiao Chun, thus securing the qualification of an outer disciple. Just like that, the other position was sold too. All 3 positions were now occupied by the buyers. The first one was a horse-faced person whose name was unknown. The second one was the young girl, Hu Xiaomi, from the wealthy Hao family. And the third one was a youthful, muscular man who called himself the Master of Wolves. Announcement of the conquerors was made. They were complimented with best wishes and were officially upgraded to the level of outer disciples. With this, the dramatic trial ended. Everyone was off to their sex. The sun was about to set. The sky was slightly red and gold as Xiao Chun and Big Brothers bid farewell to the winners and asked them to keep writing to them. The environment was so peaceful, the wind was calm, and the eve was serene when Xiao Chun was seeing off Hu Xiao. Her charming long hair seemed picturesque when they flew with the gentle breeze. Something surely was magical that evening. Hao Xiao glanced back at Xiao Chun before she left. She felt something magical too about this encounter. She never thought she would witness such a beautiful encounter in the most captivating and appealing way.
Don't forget to like and comment for the next part. Join our Discord for the name of the book and subscribe for more videos from us.